Hello everyone. In this video, let us talk about single responsibility principle, and I think we have already defined what it is. Let us recap it. A single responsibility principle is a principle which should have only one reason to change, and it should handle only a single responsibility. Now let us look into an example in Java, like a non-compliant, a good and bad example. When we follow, what happens when we follow single responsibility principle, and how does it look when we does not? So let us go to the IntelliJ. Here I have created a non-compliant package where I created an example for single responsibility is not followed in this package, and the other one is a good example of it. So let us look into the bad example here. So here there is a class named user account. It has some details related to user, which are username and password. And there are certain other linked functionalities like login and encrypt password, and at the same time send welcome email. So if you closely try to observe, I mean, by recalling what exactly solid single responsibility means, so it states that a single responsibility principle should only handle one responsibility. So if you try to segregate the responsibilities here, the user details, that's fine to, have a user details, which are username and password. This is one responsibility. And the second one is like it is having certain functionality related to logic. That is uh, that is an additional responsibility. And encryption of the password is also an additional responsibility, and the last one, which is welcome, sending a welcome email, which is also an additional responsibility. So if you see here, it handles user data, and it handles authentication, and it handles encryption, and it handles email functionality as well. So if you see, there are four functionalities here, or maybe four responsibilities. So it makes this class change for four reasons. So there are four responsibilities and four reasons to change, which is not quite good. So this is clearly violating the single responsibility principle. So it should have either one of this logic, I mean either encryption or either authentication or either user data. But here, as the name suggests, I mean you keeping user data in this one, I mean making it handle user data seems more appropriate. So the best way would be keeping the user related functionality here and moving the rest of the things into different class, not as a whole, moving each of this item into a different class. Again, if you move three to a different class, and there are three responsibilities for the second class to change, right? So we have to always make sure that any class should have only one responsibility, and thereby it has only one reason to change. So let us now look into a complete solution, like when we follow a single responsibility principle, how does it look? So now we have something called user details. Here it is it is handling only user data, username and password, like we have discussed in the bad example. So we can have, all the methods related to username or password, and rest of the functionality, getter, setter, and etc. We can do that. But if you look into here, there is an auth service. I mean, the logic to login or authenticate is separated out, and there is a class which which is responsible to send an email. So this is also separated out from the base class, and encryption logging is also being captured in the password encryptor. So if you see each of this class, now the four responsibilities have been split into four different classes. Thereby, each class is having only one single responsibility to change, by which we are now not violating the single responsibility principle. So what are the advantages of it? So when you look, I mean, you might think that user account is, all the code is in single class, and you might think like it is looking easier to see at single point, but it is not. Basically, if you separate it out, this is not just the functionality, right? I have only added a user account class, but in a real life project, there is more to it. There are more interactions, there are more, functional handling, or there are more interactions between one module to another module. So in that real world scenarios, it will be a problematic scenario. If you segregate it out, let us say if there is any logic change in username or password, or any upcoming change in the user detail. Let's say there is a first name and last name, or if you user wants to add more details for user detail, then it's totally fine to modify this class. But it is not fine to modify, more than one aspect, more than one responsibility. So that is what this principle states. So changes in saving, printing or logic or etc. If you want to add more thing, then you have to move it to a different thing. Like if you want to save these, persist the user details to the DB, then you should create a user details repository and handle those things there. If you want to print it, you create a print user details or something of that kind, and do the logic there. So that's where you are segregating the responsibilities and making more maintainable and more looking more appropriate and cleaner and easy to interpret or easy to read. So that's why it matters. I hope you got the essence of what single responsibility refers to. Here there were four responsibilities overloaded in a single class, but they have been split into different classes, thereby achieving the single responsibility principle. Thank you very much. Let us look into the open close principle in the upcoming lecture. Thank you.